Hey, it's Cody, and today is my mother's birthday, and this will be the third of her birthdays in a row that I have not acknowledged. Um, so I was thinking, thinking about like tarot is always sort of like an app running in the background of my mind. Um, and I've been thinking a lot about the Empress lately. And I thought that maybe I'd just hop on here and talk for a few minutes about the negative aspects of the Empress card. Um, I will warn you, this video might get a little bit personal. I want to add a content slash trigger warning because this will have to do with parental fuckery growing up. If that's not something you want to hear about, then please feel free to click away from this video. I feel like sometimes I just make videos to hear my own self talk, so don't feel bad about it, right? You don't want to hear it? You're free to not listen to it, because quite frankly, I don't want to hear the shit either, but... Okay, so I have here 13 Empress cards from different decks that we can look at. So, this, I don't even remember the specific iteration of the Waitsmith that this deck is from. It's kind of a muted one. But here is our sort of a classic Empress card. So, a lot of people tend to just read the Empress as positive, right? I mean, this is a good card. This is a card of plenty and being taken care of. It sort of almost has like a bit of a selflessness implied to it, and things like that. So when I first started reading the tarot, I was 11 when I first got my hands on a tarot deck. It was some sort of Waite Smith. It was well used, and it was my friend's mom's. And I think that my friend stole it from her mother, so she eventually did have to give it back. And I went a while without having any decks. But that's really neither here nor there. At the time, I found the Empress energy sort of confusing. Where it seemed to be celebrated as, archetypal mother, at that time my only reference point, for a mother was my own. My childhood was really fucking weird. I'm the oldest of three. I have two younger brothers. And I don't know how to put this delicately. I guess I was a parentified child. From as early as I can remember, I was always the dumping ground for whatever adult things that my mother had going on. Trouble that she had with her mother. She had terrible problems with her sister, her brothers, and my father while he was still there. And constantly it was... They were really things that weren't my problem. But at the time as a child, I thought this was, like, cool. Oh, mom thinks I'm grown up enough to hear about her grown-up problems. And it just... When my parents divorced, I was 11 years old, and, man, the shit I heard was just... It was the kind of shit that 11-year-olds don't want to... I mean, no matter what the age, there was shit that I never wanted to fucking hear. Just... things that maybe you would tell a friend, but certainly never a child. It has been since I've been an adult that I realized the reason that she has problems with everyone is not everyone. The problem is her. So the Empress to me was strange because I'm like, are there mothers that are like this archetype? And obviously an archetype is perfect, right? It's never going to actually be an attainable goal. But my mother did not even have this energy about her. Here's a small tale for you. I think it was around the time after my parents got divorced, so I would have been about 11. 12 or 13 probably. My mother has had and has a lot of mental illnesses I think are not being diagnosed properly. They're not being taken care of. They have wanted to admit her, but she quite literally would get up, grab me and my brothers on our Game Boys from the waiting room, and run to the car so they could not, like... So, she would have these times. I don't know what they were even about. And I'm not sure that she did either. But she would pull out handfuls of hair and scream that she was going to get in her car and go drive off a cliff, and then my brothers and I could just see what it was like without her. I'll admit to you that I do know a lot of it was because a lot of times it was triggered by her hair not working out how she wanted in the morning. So I walked on eggshells constantly as a child, and I remember laying awake at night and thinking to myself, I would look in, like, these drawers where we kept canned goods and try and see what kind of things I could imagine making a meal in case she really did this some night, and I woke up and she just wasn't there, the car was gone, and to my mind, 11, 12, 13, it just made sense that I was the oldest and I would have to start preparing meals for my younger brothers and myself. Looking back at it now, like, why wouldn't I have been like, well, I'll just call my grandma? My grandmother was, like, the real adult. If anything ever happened, if one of us got in trouble, if somebody was sick, that's when my grandmother came down and anything actually got taken care of. So the insidious part of this is a lot of this was quiet in the home things. It wasn't, there are absolutely, I don't ever want to act like, my situation with my mother is worse. There are people with some fucking wild shit out there. But, man, this fucked me up too, I'm not gonna lie. And so when I looked at the Empress as a kid, I really hated it because I felt it was kind of making me look at the things that my own mother, the ways in which she was sort of failing me. And so when I saw this card and I had read about it being the mother archetype, I mean, at the time I didn't know the word gaslighty, but this has always struck me as a gaslight queen, fucking guilt-tripping, manipulative. The list goes on, and I've just always had a hard time really identifying with this. I kind of thought, when I had my own kids, that I would kind of start seeing this card differently. But unfortunately, I kind of feel stuck in the way that I had already been viewing it. So next here, this is the Empress card from the Brady Tarot. This is the second edition, as it does not have the white borders. So this one, if you can see it, we've got a wolf. She's got plants. She's got babies. There's a deer back here that she might eat at some point. We've got hares. A river running through. We've got the woods back here. It's very much, it has a safe feeling, a feeling like things are being taken care of. And something about the Empress card, as almost, descriptions of it almost feel gaslighty to me as I'm reading them, and I know that it's my own bullshit, my own lens that I'm seeing through. It's like, oh no, this is good, this is fantastic. And I don't know, man, I'm kind of crusty about it, and I'm trying to, like, help myself feel better about this. Here we have the Empress, from the Herb Crafter's Tarot. We've got, a rosary with, I believe these are, I forgot what kinds of beads these were. Were they like made of rose petals or something? I don't exactly remember. This one, as you can tell by the rosary, is sort of associated with Mother Mary. And just sort of that unconditional love. And my love as a child was very conditional. If I didn't agree with her, if I did anything that was not exactly the way that she thought that it should be, then I was like betraying her. As I got older, it got super weird. I started dating my now husband when I was 16. And at first, you know, she was perfectly fine with it, but then I think the longer it went on, the weirder she started getting about it. And she was like, oh, you're too good for him, no, all this stuff. And at first I was like, well, you know, she's just trying to protect me, or, you know, because my father and her ex-husband was a piece of shit, and her biological father was a piece of shit. And, you know, and I think that at this point it was really starting to occur to me that something was wrong with my interpretation, you know, just of motherhood in general, and not that what I was going through was not normal. And she used to freak out like I was leaving her, like I was betraying her, almost like I was cheating on her, having a boyfriend or something. Like my wedding was a fucking disaster. It was rife with bullshit from her. One time she like invited him over. Literally, he was still a teenager. I mean, both of us were still teenagers. I think we were probably 17. And I was at some sort of like art class or something, and she invited my boyfriend over without me even knowing about it. And I guess he thought I was going to be there because she didn't say, but it was just her. And they like made brownie mix and just ate it plain. And he said it was the most bizarre thing because he was like, what the fuck was that? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I don't fucking know what was going on. I mean, these are little stories. I don't want to get too much into it, but the weird like guilt tripping shit has been something that I've just been associating with the archetypal mother. So here is the Empress from a new deck. To me, and I think coming out, is the Tarot of Tales. So I like this depiction of the Empress because instead of like, you know, the pregnant lady sitting somewhere, we've got our Empress. She's dressed up. She's got her little hat on. She's got her cute ass little gloves, but she's out in the garden digging what? Garlic, onions. I don't know exactly what that's supposed to be, right? She's enjoying her garden, but that also that she has work to cultivate, right? So this sort of implies that this isn't an energy that's necessarily just going to be sitting there. It's something that you have to put effort in and work toward. This kind of reminds me, again, like all of these twist in my mind to be something fucked up. My grandmother was very much a part of my life growing up. However, after the birth of my oldest son, even at the hospital, it was a huge fucking deal. She was upset because I didn't want her in the room, but like the reason I didn't want her in the room is because I wanted less of her bullshit, and it was even worse than I had anticipated. Her behavior, like she thought the baby was gonna be like mine and hers or something, and that's not how it works. She has quite made it very clear that she actually does not want shit to do with my kids, her grandkids, which is just super weird to me. But then she'll be mad at me because I don't. It's a whole fucking thing. And the idea, I think, of it sort of being something you have to work toward, like looking at this makes me think of the way that she absolutely will not put any work toward anything. Man, I'm just fucking bitter today, I guess. But I think that it's important. This is the Empress from the Antique Anatomy Ephemeral Edition. It's a mass market by Claire Goodchild of Black and the Moon. And it's just such a weird thing. I feel like a lot of people take issue with the Emperor card more so than the Empress, which I get. But my point of reference, my father was just pretty much absent. So it was never like a controlling sort of energy. It was just an energy that kind of was avoidant. So I mean, honestly, that's kind of some sort of issue that I have too, I guess. Or people will be upset about the Hierophant, which yeah, I totally get that too. But for me, the major arcana card that trips me up is the Empress. Here we have the Empress from the Bloody Tears Tarot. I believe this deck is based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. This Empress sort of has like a sneaky look, which I feel like sort of aligns more with my experience. Oh my god, this is the gold foiling on this is making it difficult to see. This is the Empress card from the Sephiroth or Sephiro or something like that. It's a beautiful card. This card honestly sort of makes me think of my grandmother, just because we've got the wheat, the plants, we've got things, we've got the abundance sort of reference in there, but also she's holding a sword here on her belt, and she's got like a bird here, like, I don't know, I just imagine it's probably a bird of prey she's gonna like send out to get somebody. This is more of the Empress energy that I want to kind of start working with. But the thing is, when I look at the cards, I tend to read intuitively, and the first thing I think of is my own experience with my mother. Here we have renamed Empress card, the Green Mother, and this is from, oh my god, the Force of Enchantment Tarot, I think. So I know that sometimes people are not really a fan of the actual literal motherhood sort of overtones of this card. I mean, and that's completely valid. For me, I kind of like it because I'm trying to reconcile. But here comes a story for this one. A little kid sitting on mom's lap, right? I mean, when I was little, my mother read me bedtime stories. I'm not saying that every second, like, of my childhood with her was bad. But it also kind of reminds me, when I was a teenager, Victoria's Secret came out with their Pink line, which was aimed at teenagers, right? It just reeled my ass right in. And we would get Victoria's Secret, like, catalogs mailed to the house. I don't even know if that's a thing that happens anymore. But I liked to just look through them, and I imagined, you know, though, if I got this purple lacy bra, I would be beautiful like this too, right? But my mother would sit down next to me, almost like she was gonna, you know, read a book to a kid. But instead, she would go through and point out all these, like, flaws with the models. I remember very vividly once her sitting there and saying, it was literally fucking Adriana Lima, and she was like, look at her inner thigh fat. Like, and man, that shit fucked me up. It wasn't so much that I learned to look at other people that way, but I learned to look at myself that way. And so this picture is fucking scarring to me, because instead of seeing, you know, a mother helping or teaching or reading a book to a child, I see my mother pointing out arm flab or a thick waist on a fucking supermodel, and it just, yeah, I hate that one. I do appreciate this depiction of the Empress. This is from the Madame Lydia Wilhelmina's tarot of, I think it's Monsters, Macabre, and Autumn Scenes or something like that. So if you can see this one, the candle's making the light kind of weird here. She actually has, like, hazy eyes and a cracked face. but then she's got a perfect face down here. This card really speaks to my own experience with my mother, because from the outside, everything looked fine, right? The mask went on, she could act reasonable in public. I mean, I was a little kid. I always had clothes that fit me. I had shoes that fit me. My grandmother bought them and took me to get them. But the fact of the matter is that it didn't look weird from the outside. It was just weird on the inside. So, yeah, I think this is the first depiction of the Empress that I have personally seen that speaks to my experience with this. So, thank you to that deck creator. Here we've got a pretty just common, I think, depiction of the Empress from the Tarot of the Abyss, right? She's got the flowing hair, the flowing dress, she's got plants and flowers and things. Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful picture. It's not really anything different. Here's the Empress from the Gentle Tarot. There's not a reference to an actual baby, which I kind of like about this card. We've got, you know, the growth and just not necessarily excess, but the enoughness of just stuff going on here, right? We've got birds and butterflies in the sun. Maybe a bee back there. Here's maybe a little bit graphic. This is a renamed Empress, the Great Mother from... oh shit. Oh, the Witch's Wisdom Tarot. It's number 19 because it does like a thing where it flips all the majors opposite, so she's the third from the end. And this just sort of has her, you know, peacefully allowing things in the valley there to unfold as they should. And my last and 13th one, I don't know why I felt like I needed to pick 13, but this is the Empress from the Forhaxa Tarot, I think it is pronounced. We've got the bunnies, we've got the pregnant Empress. So I don't really know, you know, what exactly my point of this video was. Just that, I guess, to share an experience of not really connecting with a card the way that it's supposed to be connected with. And I don't know, man, if you've got weird associations with the Empress, you know, maybe let me know if I'm the only person out here that's like, hey, I remember having to fucking try and plan meals for my siblings. Or like, you know, just there's so much worse stuff out there than what I went through, but I still did go through a lot of fucking shit that I just didn't even get into in this video. You know, I don't want to burden everyone with my bullshit, but ultimately, I think many an Empress figure in people's lives are wearing a mask of perfection in public that may be destroying people's lives behind closed doors. So, if you're still here, if you watch this whole rambly video, thanks for listening. Bye.